2026 is not just a new year, it is a decision point. Ladies and gentlemen, if nothing changes, and if you don't change, your results won't either. 2026 is not just another year on the calendar, it is a blank check, and most people will write small numbers on it because they think small. Today, I want to challenge that. Not with motivation, not with hype, but with clarity, because clarity creates power. Goal first. Decide who you will become. Before you chase success, define identity. Success doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from alignment. When who you are matches what you want, results become inevitable. Ask yourself, what kind of person gets the life I want? Then become that person daily. Second, set a vision that scares you. Safe goals don't stretch you. Comfortable goals don't transform you. If your goal doesn't require growth, it doesn't deserve commitment. Write a vision so clear that when distractions show up, you don't negotiate, you eliminate them. Goal third, increase your value, not just your income. Money is not earned, it's attracted. Income is simply a receipt for value delivered. In 2026, commit to learning high leverage skills, solving bigger problems, serving at a higher level. Your paycheck will eventually catch up to your personal growth. Goal fourth, master your time. You don't manage time, you honor it. Every yes is a silent no to something else. Every wasted hour is a stolen future. In 2026, stop asking, what do I feel like doing? Start asking, what does my future require? Goal fifth, upgrade your environment. Your environment is either pulling you forward or holding you hostage. People, conversations, content, habits, they all vote on your future. Change your environment and your behavior will follow. Goal six, build daily discipline. Motivation is emotional. Discipline is structural. Winners don't feel like it. They do it anyway. Small actions repeated daily compound into unstoppable momentum. Consistency is the real shortcut. Goal seventh, develop financial intelligence. Work hard, but think harder. Understand cash flow, leverage, assets versus liabilities. Money flows toward understanding, not effort. In 2026, stop working for money. Learn how to make money work for you. Goal eighth, leave a legacy, not just a lifestyle. A life focused only on self ends small. The highest achievers don't ask, what can I get? They ask, who can I help become more? Impact outlives income. Legacy outlasts success. 2026 is coming, whether you're ready or not. The question is not, will the year change? The question is, will you? Decide today, commit fully, act daily, because the future doesn't belong to the lucky. It belongs to the intentional. Before you change what you do, you must change who you are. Most people start the year obsessed with activity, new routines, new plans, new strategies, yet end the year frustrated because the results never match the effort. The mistake is not a lack of action, it is a lack of identity. Action without identity creates resistance. Identity before activity creates alignment. Why? Our life is always moving in the direction of the person you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will eventually break consistency. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, struggle will feel familiar and comfortable. But if you shift your identity, if you decide at a core level who you are becoming, your behavior will naturally follow. You don't force habits when match your identity, you express them. In 2026, the most powerful goal you can set is not something you want to achieve, but someone you decide to become. Because goals are temporary, but identity is permanent. When identity changes, decisions change. When decisions change, habits change. And when habits change, outcomes change automatically. Think about it. Disciplined people don't wake up every day debating whether to be disciplined. Focused people don't negotiate with distractions. Leaders don't ask permission to lead. They act in alignment with who they are. Their behavior is not willpower driven, it is identity driven. This is why many people start strong and quit early. They attempt to act like someone they have not yet decided to be. They borrow behaviors without adopting Bell. But lasting transformation happens when you draw a line and say, this is who I am now. From that moment forward, certain choices no longer make sense, and others become obvious. When identity is clear, motivation becomes unnecessary. You don't need to hype yourself up to do what is consistent with who you are. A person who identifies as healthy does not argue with junk food every day. A person who identifies as excellent does not tolerate mediocrity. A person who identifies as disciplined does not wait to feel ready. In 2026, stop asking, what should I do? And start asking, who must I become? Because the quality of your future will never exceed the clarity of your identity. Your calendar will always obey your self-image. Your results will always reflect your beliefs. Decide first, become first, then act. When identity comes before activity, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you express daily, effortlessly, and consistently. A powerful vision does more than describe the future. It pulls you toward it. Most people drift through life reacting to circumstances, responding to pressure, and adjusting to whatever shows up. Without a clear vision, you don't move forward with intention. You move sideways with effort. Vision is what gives direction to energy and purpose to discipline. When vision is weak, consistency becomes difficult. You start strong, but when resistance appears, the reason to continue feels unclear. But when vision is strong, when you can see the future you're building with clarity, discipline becomes easier because you are no longer pushing yourself forward. The vision is pulling you ahead. You stop asking how hard something is and start asking how badly you want the outcome. A compelling vision creates internal alignment. It asks questions before they are asked. It tells you what matters and what doesn't. It filters opportunities, distractions, and decisions. Without vision, everything feels important, so nothing truly is. With vision, priorities become obvious and focus becomes natural. In 2026, your vision must be specific enough to guide you and meaningful enough to move you. Vague goals create vague effort. I want. More produces hesitation, but this is where I am going produces momentum. The clearer the picture, the stronger the pull. Your mind needs a destination before it can fully commit to the journey. Vision also changes how you experience challenges. When there is no vision, obstacles feel personal and discouraging. When vision is clear, obstacles feel temporary and instructional. You stop seeing setbacks as signs to quit and start seeing them as part of the process. Vision reframes pain as progress. Most people let their past define their future. Vision allows you to reverse that order. You stop moving forward based on what has already happened and start moving based on what is possible. Vision breaks emotional attachment to old limitations. It gives you permission to grow beyond familiar, our patterns and outdated self-beliefs. A strong vision demands expansion. It forces you to think differently, act differently, and surround yourself differently. It exposes gaps in skills, thinking, and habits, not to discourage you, but to direct your growth. Vision doesn't shame you for where you are, it challenges you to rise. When vision pulls you forward, procrastination loses power, delay becomes expensive because you can clearly see what you are postponing. Distractions lose appeal because they don't align with the future you are building. You begin to protect your time, energy, and attention because they are no longer abstract resources. They are tools for construction. In 2026, don't settle for a vision that simply sounds good. Create one that demands commitment, one that excites you on difficult days and steadies you when motivation fades. Because when your vision is clear, the future stops being something you wait for and becomes something you move toward, intentionally, relentlessly, and with purpose. Income is not something you chase, it is something you attract. Too many people spend their lives running after money, switching jobs, working longer hours, or hoping for better opportunities, yet never experience a meaningful increase in income. The reason is simple but often misunderstood. Income does not respond to effort alone. It responds to value. Value is the marketplace's way of measuring usefulness. The more problems you can solve, The more complex those problems are, and the more people you can help solve them for, the higher your income potential becomes. Money flows naturally toward those who create outcomes, not those who merely stay busy. Activity may fill your schedule, but value fills your bank account. In 2026, the most reliable way to increase your income is to increase what you bring to the table. This means expanding your skills, sharpening your thinking, and deepening your understanding of how results are created. The marketplace reward, DS competence, clarity, and contribution. When you become more capable, you become more valuable. When you become more valuable, income follows as a byproduct. Many people confuse time with value. They believe working harder or longer should automatically lead to higher pay. But time is evenly distributed, value is not. Two people can work the same number of hours and earn dramatically different incomes because one creates outcomes while the other completes tasks. The difference is not effort. It is leverage, insight, and impact. Value increases when you solve bigger problems. Problems that require judgment, creativity, leadership, and decision-making are always compensated at a higher level than problems that require routine execution. In 2026, you must ask yourself not just what you do, but what problems you are known for solving. Reputation compounds faster than effort. Income also follows responsibility. The more responsibility you are willing to carry, responsibility for results, for decisions, for leadership, the more valuable you become. People who avoid responsibility cap their income without realizing it. Those who embrace responsibility expand their opportunities because rust follows reliability. Another critical factor in value creation is communication. You can have great skills, but if you cannot articulate the value you provide, the marketplace cannot reward you properly. Clarity multiplies value. The ability to explain, influence, and connect transforms skill into opportunity. In many cases, income increases not because someone became better, but because they became clearer. Value is also tied to scalability. Helping one person at a time limits income. Creating systems, processes, or ideas that help many people simultaneously expands it. The more your value can be multiplied without requiring equal increases in effort, the greater your income potential becomes. This is why strategy often outperforms labor. In 2026, stop asking how to make more M1. Why? And start asking how to become more valuable. Focus on growth instead of guarantees. Invest in learning instead of shortcuts. Build competence that cannot be ignored. Because when value rises, income has no choice but to follow. Time is the one asset you spend every day without ever seeing a statement. Yet it is the most valuable resource you will ever manage. Money can be lost and replaced. OP. Opportunities can disappear and return in another form. Time once spent is gone forever. That reality alone should change how you treat it, but for many people, time is handled casually as if there will always be more every day. You wake up with the same 24 hours as everyone else, but the results people produce with that time are wildly different. The difference is not intelligence, talent, or lieu. It is respect. Those who understand the true value of time make decisions differently. They are intentional about where it goes because they understand what it costs. In 2026, time must stop being something you fill and start being something you invest. Filling time leads to busyness. Investing time leads to growth. When you invest, you expect a return. That mindset alone changes how you plan your days, structure your priorities, and say no to distractions that offer no long-term benefit. Wasted time rarely looks dramatic. It hides in small choices, scrolling without purpose, conversations without direction, commitments without meaning. Minutes leak away quietly, and over time, they compound into missed potential. You don't lose years all at once. You lose them in pieces. Awareness is the first step to protection. Time is closely connected to decision-making. Every decision has a time cost, whether you recognize it or not. When you say yes to one thing, you are automatically saying no to another. This is why clarity is essential. Without clear priorities, you spend time reacting instead of directing. You let urgency replace importance, and activity replace progress. High perf. Ormers do not necessarily do more, they do what matters most. They understand that focus is a force multiplier. 1 hour of deep, intentional work often produces more results than 8 hours of distraction. When you guard your attention, you protect your time. When attention is scattered, time is wasted even if you're busy. Another overlooked aspect of time is energy. Time without energy is ineffective. How you sleep, what you consume, and how you manage stress directly affect the quality of the time you spend. In 2026, protecting time also means protecting the physical and mental capacity to use it well. Productivity is not about pressure. It is about alignment. Time also reveals values. You can tell what truly matters to someone by where their time goes, not by what they say. If your time consistently goes to things that don't move your life forward, it's not a scheduling problem, it's a value problem. Change what you value, and your calendar will change automatically. In 2026, treat time like the non-renewable asset it is. Budget it, protect it, invest it with intention, because the way you spend your time today is quietly shaping the life you will be living tomorrow, whether you are paying attention or not. Your environment is constantly shaping you, whether you are aware of it or not. Long before habits feel intentional, environment has already influenced behavior. The people you are around, the conversations you hear, the information you consume, and the standards you tolerate all work together to determine what feels normal to you. And what feels normal eventually becomes permanent. Most people believe their success or failure comes down to willpower. In reality, willpower is often overridden by environment. You can have strong intentions and still struggle if your surroundings are designed for distraction, comfort, or limitation. Environment quietly pulls you in a direction long before you consciously choose to go there. In 2026, if you want different results, you must be willing to redesign what surrounds you. This begins with people. The voices you listen to most often become the thoughts you repeat internally. If you are surrounded by people who normalize excuses, you will eventually justify your own. If you are surrounded by people who value growth, discipline, and progress, those qualities begin to feel natural rather than forced. Environment also includes what you allow into your mind. Information is not neutral. What you watch, read, and listen to is shaping your expectations, beliefs, and emotional state. Consistent exposure to low-quality content lowers standards without you realizing it. High-quality input raises perspective and sharpens thinking. You become what you repeatedly consume. Physical environment matters as well. Your workspace, your home, and even your digital environment influence focus and behavior. Clutter creates friction. Disorder drains mental energy. A well-designed environment reduces resistance and supports the behaviors you want to repeat. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Enough. Our powerful aspect of environment is standards. What you tolerate becomes the baseline for your life. When poor performance, disorganization, or negativity go unchallenged, they silently set the tone. Raising your standards often requires changing environments because growth is uncomfortable where mediocrity is accepted. Environment also determines what feels possible. If you have never seen someone succeed at a certain level, it can feel unrealistic. But proximity changes belief. Being around people who think bigger, move faster, and expect more expands your sense of what you can achieve. Exposure creates permission. In 2026, understand that change does not begin with effort alone. It begins with alignment. When your environment supports your goals, progress accelerates. Discipline BCO. Me's easier because resistance is reduced. You stop fighting yourself and start flowing with your surroundings. You don't have to fight your environment if you can design it. Change the people you listen to. Change the inputs you allow. Change the standards you accept. Because when environment changes, behavior changes. And when behavior changes consistently, destiny follows. Most people overestimate what intensity can do in a short period of time and underestimate what consistency can do over a long period of time. Intensity looks impressive. It feels powerful. It creates momentum in the moment. But intensity without consistency fades quickly, leaving behind unfinished goals and frustration. Consistency, on the other hand, is quiet, disciplined, and often unnoticed, but it is unstoppable. In 2026, sustainable success will not belong to those who start fast. It will belong to those who keep going. Anyone can be motivated for a week. Anyone can push hard for a short burst. Very few people commit to showing up every day, especially when progress feels slow and recognition is absent. That is where real separation happens. Consistency works because it compounds. Small actions repeated daily create exponential results over time. What feels insignificant in the moment becomes significant through repetition. One focused hour a day outperforms 10 scattered hours once a month. Progress does not require dramatic change, it requires dependable action. Intensity relies heavily on emotion. When you feel good, you perform. When you don't, you stop. Consistency is built on identity and discipline, not mood. It removes negotiation from the process. You act because it is who you are, not because you feel inspired. This is why consistent people win in the long run. They are not emotionally dependent on motivation. Another advantage of consistency is clarity. Repetition reveals what works and what doesn't. When you act consistently, you gather data, you learn faster, you adjust sooner. Intensity often skips this step because it is more focused on effort than on feedback. Consistency allows growth to be intelligent, not just energetic. Consistency also builds trust, both internally and externally. When you keep promises to yourself, confidence grows. When others see reliability, opportunities follow. People trust those who are predictable in their excellence. This trust becomes leverage that opens doors intensity alone never could. Many people fail not because their goals are unrealistic, but because their approach is unsustainable. They demand too much from themselves too quickly, then burn out. Consistency is patient. It respects capacity. It allows progress without self-destruction. It is not about doing everything. It is about doing the right things repeatedly. In 2026, success will not come from moments of greatness, but from habits of discipline. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be reliable. You don't need to overwhelm yourself. You need to outlast the process. Because when consistency is applied long enough, intensity becomes unnecessary. Consistency does not show. It does not rush. It simply shows up day after day until results have no choice but to appear. As you step into 2026, remember this: the year itself holds no power. The power has always been in your decisions, your standards, and your daily actions. Identity determines direction. Vision creates momentum. Value attracts income. Time demands respect. Environment influences behavior. And consistency turns intention into reality. You do not need to change everything overnight. You need to decide clearly and permanently who you are becoming, what you are building, and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. When those decisions are made, progress stops being a struggle and starts becoming a process. 2026 is not asking you to be perfect. It is asking you to be intentional, to act with purpose, to show up even when no one is watching. Because the life you want is not created by one big moment, but by many small, disciplined choices made over time. Make this the year you stop reacting and start designing. The year you stop hoping and start executing. The year you don't just set goals, but become the person capable of achieving them. The future is not waiting for you, it is responding to you